In a nutshell, Dungeons & Dragons, Honor for Thieves works. Except since comedy may compromise emotional commitment, it would be the minimum pay. It did not occur, yet it was not easily avoided. Here's our take on the flick. Elgin, Chris Pine, and Holger, Michelle Rodriguez, are imprisoned for stealing and treason by fellow thief Forge. Hugh Grant. Elgin intends to return to embrace his daughter Kira, but there will be 1,000 adventures between saying and doing, in the company of the insecure wizard Simon, Justice Smith, the tiefling druid Doric, Sophia Lillis, and the paladin Zenk, Regine Page. All while being threatened by the red mage Sophina. Daisy Head. Following the failure of Dungeons & Dragons, Let the Game Begin, 2002, nobody expected a suitable film version of Gary Gygax and David Arneson's popular role-playing game, which will celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2024. Aside from this overt prejudice, there was another that was a little more subtle. Dungeons & Dragons, Honor for Thieves was first portrayed as a light-hearted parodic production, but the resumes of filmmakers and co-writers John Francis Daly and Jonathan M. Goldstein are clear: How I Spoil Your Vacations, How to Kill the Boss, and Live Happily Ever After. At a time when nerdism is a religion, leaving with this obvious lack of respect, especially after past harm, looked unwarranted and somewhat desperate. Is a fun attitude, however, so absurd. D&D's popularity has recently been boosted by the metaphorical impact it has had in the Stranger Things series, where even a monstrous opponent carries the name Demogon, a reference to the GDR. The imaginative and creative abilities of a dungeon master, i.e. one who tells the story, holds the reins, and directs the other players, solidify a microcosm of friendships, interpersonal dynamics, and sensitivity. Perhaps it is not surprising that Daly and Goldstein, true D&D aficionados, have interpreted that fantastical world with a Tolkienian flavor through their own way of perceiving life and therefore one humorous look. And, beyond what the trailers and featurettes suggest for commercial purposes, they've done it with remarkable shrewdness and restraint, possibly exactly in order to arrive at this underlying lightness and genuineness. Dungeons & Dragons, The Honor of Thieves is naturally riddled with quotes and/or jokes on components of the GDR, but the entry ticket it demands costs merely euros at the cash register. There is no mandatory knowledge surcharge to appreciate or figure out what happens on screen. Which might be a double-edged sword for D&D fans, who may have preferences in the world of D&D and would like to investigate some aspects of it, but will be able to share a fantastic film with friends or family who are unfamiliar with its rules and dynamical specifications. On the other hand, it is natural for this to occur, because D&D rehashes and feeds on everlasting narrative and literary traditions, folklore, fairy tales, and, specifically by Tolkien, pictures anchored in the public imagination that don't require too many explanations. The script works pretty well in its psychological simplicity, constructing the characters on the classes they belong to, utilizing irony simply to make the adventure lighthearted, not to pull apart the emotional participation. And, pay heed, this is a key yet delicate balance that has recently been jeopardized in some Marvel films. We root for the heroes because the tale is structured around them, not because we have to out of fandom. Even when Daly and Goldstein put their touch on the grotesque that is their style, there is genuine laughter, because we know that laughing never betrays our heroes' underlying emotional journey, which is obvious, crystalline, and very serious for each of them. In short, Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves is a pleasant surprise, as one gets the impression that the authors, similar to Sony Pictures Animation with Spider-Man, A New Universe, used the protection of a big brand to make the film they really wanted to make, even demonstrating that they know how to deal with a larger-than-usual budget for them. Doric's departure from the castle in Long Shot is a memorable sequence that inspires the right. All that remains is to hope, any success, which we believe is deserved, will spawn obvious sequels, and keeping a balance between irony and grandeur will become increasingly difficult. But for the time being, let's have some fun.